he was aboard a public carrier on his way home. It had been quite a day. At home, in his one-bedroom apartment, he poured himself a shot of Jack Daniel's Purple Label, 60 years old, and sat sipping it, meanwhile gazing through his sole window at the building on the opposite side of the street. Shall I go to the office? He asked himself. If so, why? If not, why? Choose one. Christ, he thought, it undermines you, knowing this. I'm a freak, he realized. An inanimate object mimicking an animate one. But he felt alive. Yet he felt differently now. About himself, and it's about everyone, especially Danceman and Sarah, everyone at Triplend. I think I'll kill myself, he said to himself. But I'm probably programmed not to do that. It would be costly, a costly waste which my owner would have to absorb, and he wouldn't want to. Programmed in me somewhere, he thought, there is a matrix fitted in place, a grid screen that cuts me off from certain thoughts, certain actions, and forced me into others. I'm not free. I never was, but now I know it. That makes it different. Turning his window to opaque, he snapped on the overhead lights, carefully set about removing his clothing, piece by piece. He had watched carefully as the technicians at the repair facility had attached his new hand. He had a rather clear idea now of how his body had been assembled. 2 major panels, one in each thigh. The technician had removed the panels to check the circuit complexes beneath. If I'm programmed, he decided, the matrix probably can be found there. The maze of circuitry baffled him. I need help, he said to himself. Let's see, what's the phone code for the Class BBB computer we hired at the office? He picked up the phone, dialed the computer at its permanent location in Boise, Idaho. Use of this computer is prorated at a 5 francs per minute basis. A mechanical voice on the phone said, Please hold your MasterCard charge plate before the screen. He did so. At the sound of the buzzer, you will be connected with the computer. The voice continued. Please query as rapidly as possible, taking into account the fact that its answers will be given in terms of microseconds. While your query will, he turned the sound down then, but quickly turned it up as the blank audio input of the computer appeared on the screen. At this moment, the computer had become a giant ear listening to him, as well as 50,000 other queries through Terra. Scan me visually, instructed the computer, and tell me where I will find the programming mechanisms which control my thoughts and behavior. He waited. On the phone screen, a great active eye, multi-lens, peered at him. He displayed himself for it, there in his one-bedroom apartment. The computer said, Remove your chest panel, apply pressure at your breastbone, and then ease outward. He did so. A section of his chest came off, dizzily. He set it down on the floor. I can distinguish control models, the computer said, but I can't tell which. It paused, as his eyes roved about on the phone screen. I distinguish a roll of punch tape mounted above your heart mechanism. Do you see it? Paul craned his neck, peered. He saw it too. I will have to sign off, the computer said. After I have examined the data available to me, I will contact you and give you an answer. Good day. The screen died out. I'll yank the tape out of me, Paul said to himself. Tiny, no larger than 2 spools of thread, with a scanner mounted between the delivery drum and the take-up drum. He could not see any signs of motion. The spool seemed inert. They must cut it but I must cut in as override, he reflected, when specific situations occur. Override to my encephalic processes, and they've been doing it all my life. He reached down, touched the delivery drum. All I have to do is tear this out, he thought. The phone screen relit. Master credit card charge plate number 3BX882 HQR446T. The computer voice came. This is BB307DR contacting you in response to your query of 16 seconds lap, November 4, 1994. The punched tape rule above your heart mechanism is not a programming turret, but is in fact a reality supply construct. All sense stimuli received by your central neurological system emanate from that unit, and tempering it would be a risky, if not terminal. It added, You appear to have no programming circuit. Query answered, Good day. It flicked off. Poole, standing naked before the phone screen, touched the tape drum once again, with calculated enormous caution. I see, he thought widely. Or do I see? This unit. If I cut the tape, he realized, my world will disappear. Reality will continue for others, but not for me, because my reality, my universe, is coming to me from this minuscule unit, fed into the scanner, and then into my central nervous system as it snailishly unwinds. For years, he decided. Getting his clothes, he redressed, seated himself on his big armchair, and a luxury imported into his apartment from Triplane's maid offices, and lit a tobacco cigarette. His hands shook as he laid down his initial lighter, leaning back. He blew smoke before himself, creating a nimbus of gray. I have to go slowly, he said to himself. What am I trying to do? Bypass my programming? But the computer found no programming circuit. Do I want to interfere with the reality tape? If so, why? He thought, if I control that, I control reality, at least so far as I'm concerned, my subjective reality. But that's all there is. Objective reality is a synthetic construct dealing with hypothetical universalization of a multitude of subjective realities. My universe is lying within my fingers, he realized. If I can just figure out how the damn thing works. All I set out to do originally was to search for and locate my programming circuit so I could gain through homeostatic functioning control of myself. But with this, he did not merely gain control of himself, he gained control of everything. Going over the phone, he dialed his office. When he had Densman on the screen, he said briskly, I want you to send a computer set to microtools, a complete set of microtools, and an enlarging screen over to my apartment. I have some microcircuitry to work on. Then he broke the connection, not wanting to discuss it. A half hour later, a knock sounded on his door. When he opened up, he found himself facing one of the shop foremen, loaded down with microtools of every sort. You didn't say exactly what you wanted, the foreman said, entering the apartment, so Mr. Densman had to bring everything. And the enlarging lens system? In the truck, up on the roof. Maybe what I want to do, Poole said. Poole thought, is die. He lit a cigarette, stood smoking and waiting as the shop foreman lugged the heavy enlarging screen with its power supply and control panel into the apartment. This is suicide, what I'm doing here. He shuddered. Anything wrong, Mr. Poole? The shop foreman said as he rose to his feet, relieved of the burden of the enlarging lens system.